Hello and welcome to part 5 of the series on Mesopotamian art. This video will look at art from ancient Assyria, a civilization that began as a city-state in the 21st century BCE. It expanded into an empire between the 14th and 17th centuries, reaching a peak with the Neo-Assyrian period, but would collapse in 609 BCE, shifting the region's power balance once more to a civilization emerging in the south. Following the death of the old Babylonian king Hammurabi, Mesopotamia was divided into two regions, with the southern part continuing to be controlled by the Babylonians. The northern regions of Mesopotamia were controlled by the Assyrians, and would emerge as an independent region from the 15th century BCE onwards. This region would increase in power until it formed the Assyrian Empire. Geographically, the Assyrian Empire spanned regions that make up areas in present-day Turkey, Iran, Iraq, and Syria. Some important cities from this period include the capitals of Nimrud, Dur-Sharrukin, and Nineveh. The history of the civilization is divided into different periods based on political and linguistic changes that occurred over time. These include the early, old, and middle Assyrian periods, dated collectively from 2600 to 912 BCE. The next period, the Neo-Assyrian period, ran from 911 to 609 BCE. It was during this period that the Assyrian civilization was at its most powerful, ruling over the largest empire known to exist at that point in history. The Neo-Assyrian period is followed by the post-imperial period, which lasts up to 240 AD. Assyrian society and state offices were militaristic in nature, with the civilization being led by a series of warrior kings. Military campaigns were fierce and brutal, and increased the wealth of the Assyrian rulers. Luxury palaces, on a larger and more opulent scale than before, were built and spread throughout the region. Large-scale limestone reliefs were used to decorate public reception areas, with imagery used to show off the military power and wealth of the kings. Artworks produced by the Assyrian civilization included palace wall and rock relief carvings, royal commemorative steles, bronze work items, carved ivory figurines, and cylinder seals. While older Mesopotamian art traditions served as a basis for art production, Assyrian art began to make use of larger and more ambitious themes and scales. When compared to previous Mesopotamian periods, imagery reflected historical narratives and repetitive symmetrical patterning, with an increased interest in realistic depiction and minute detail. Two main functions of art can be described from the Neo-Assyrian period, the first being items used to decorate royal palaces, such as large architectural sculptural pieces and detailed wall reliefs. The second are works placed throughout the empire to serve as statements of power, such as freestanding monuments, steles, obelisks, and rock reliefs showing imperial authority. The themes Assyrian art most often used to convey power of the king include military victories, building projects, and hunting scenes. Religious themes, including the role of the king in religious life, played a lesser role in Assyrian art than was seen in previous Mesopotamian cultures. Scenes become smaller and self-contained, with complex narratives appearing in palace reliefs. In some cases, the use of linear narrative is replaced by the use of a circular positioning of events. Military themes, showcasing battles and the military might of the empire, would also include the brutal torture of conquered enemies. In imagery from the palace of Nimrud, the Neo-Assyrian king Tiglath-Pileser III uses relief work to convey his military victories and actions. Imagery includes scenes of the siege of the city, with artists taking aim from behind protective screens. The presence of a river in the imagery has placed the possible setting for this battle as being in proximity to the Euphrates River. In an example from the reign of the last king of the Neo-Assyrian Empire, Ashurbanipal, who reigned from 669 to 631 BCE, the destruction of the city of Susa is portrayed. In this relief, soldiers are shown destroying the walls with picks and hammers while the walled city burns. The sacking of the city was an important accomplishment Ashurbanipal had pride in. Imagery of hunting scenes often showed lion hunts, which was an important royal activity. Following on from the traditions of kings before him, Ashurbanipal made use of wall decorations to showcase his skill, strength, and bravery. In the lion hunt scene found in the North Palace at Nineveh, he is shown attacking a lion from a chariot while assistants fend off a lion attacking them from behind. The lion image was also used in the creation of a set of weights made from solid bronze, dating from between 800 to 700 BCE. These range in size from 2 cm to 30 cm, and are based on a weight system known as mina, in use during this time to weigh metals and other goods. Inscriptions in cuneiform and Phoenician, a language spoken across the Mediterranean region, contain the only known inscriptions from the reign of Shalmaneser V, who reigned from 727 to 722 BCE. Bulls, along with lions, were a common animal motif, and winged bulls and lions were sometimes combined with a human head to create androcephalic hybrids that were known as Lamashu, a word that means protective spirits. The term originates from the word Lama, which was initially used to represent a goddess, while the male counterpart being Shedu, but later became associated with the hybrid winged man or lion bull image. The image is a representation of a protective winged deity of astronomical significance found in Mesopotamian iconography. Their protective quality meant that this image was placed as a sentinel at important entry points, while also serving a structural function in the gateway construction. Variations of this image can be seen in Neo-Assyrian art. The sculptural pieces of these Lamashu were usually carved from a single stone block of alabaster and could range in height to over 4 meters tall. They are placed in pairs at prominent entryways to cities, palaces, and temples, similar to the use of heraldic lion statuary in later architectural practices. Some Lamashu have 5 legs, providing the illusion of forward movement when viewed from the side. Viewed from the front, the image appears to be stationary. The image also appeared on clay tablets buried under thresholds for protective purposes by common citizens, as well as to bring peace and good fortune. The use of the lion or bull figure portrayed the strength of the deity, the eagle's wings symbolizing its agility, and the royal features of the human face indicated wisdom. All these features served to ward off evil and to establish a sense of safety for the population. In Dur-Sharrukin, the capital city of Sargon II, who reigned from 721 to 705 BCE, Lamashu were placed in pairs to guard each of the 7 city gates. His palace has examples that make use of a bull's body. One such example of a winged bull figure was found outside the throne room, split in 3 fragments. Its torso alone weighed 20 tons. At other sites, Lamashu figures are placed according to the cardinal points, or their hairstyle and beard are carved in a style similar to that worn by the ruling king. Rock-carved relief sculpture on mountainside functioned as statements of Assyrian power and control over the land. They range from low relief work at high altitudes to deep-cut imagery near water sources. The imagery used include anthropomorphic figures, gods, and images of Lamashu, all serving to protect the water sources. The Khinnis reliefs in northern Iraq are the best-known examples of these rock relief carvings. The main panel shows the images of King Senta German, who built a canal system on the Gomel River to carry water to the capital of Nineveh and into the hinterland, along with 2 prominent deities in the Assyrian pantheon, Ashur and his wife Melissu. Ashur was the main deity of the Assyrian people until their eventual conversion to Christianity between the 1st and 5th centuries AD. He emerged during the Old Assyrian period in the city of Ashur, around the time of the Eastern Lhasa and Old Babylonian periods in southern Mesopotamia. Ashur was mentioned in texts and treaties, with the kings tracing their legitimacy to rule to this god. While the Old Assyrian kings referred to themselves as a governor or city ruler, calling Ashur instead a king, during the Middle and Neo-Assyrian periods, Ashur emerges as a god figure. Neo-Assyrian relief sculpture made use of continuous relief, which conveyed a complete narrative along the length of a palace wall. A type of gypsum was used to cover the wall, with the carving carried out with iron and copper tools. To protect the stone wall from erosion, paint and varnish was applied. Themes include narratives about hunting, courtly heraldic rituals, or warfare, and range from the actual brutal conflict to camp life of the soldiers. The king was not shown as divine as in earlier Mesopotamian cultures, and is kept to the same scale as the other figures. A headdress singles him out, and his placement in the setting of the scene conveys his powerful status. Court scenes often show the king surrounded by courtiers, bird-headed anthropomorphic beings, and genies, who participate in rituals and serve to protect the king and his court from misfortune. In an alabaster wall panel from the temple of Ninurta at Nimrud, which is the example I am doing a copy of here, the altercation between the monster Anzu and the god Ninurta is shown. Ninurta was the main god for the city of Nimrud, and is shown holding a thunderbolt in each hand as he pursues Anzu, a hybrid figure of a bird-headed creature similar to a griffin. It is based on the Assyrian myth known as the Epic of Anzu, or the defeat of Zu. Anzu, also called Zu, is a Mesopotamian demon usually depicted as a large bird, often with a lion's head, who can breathe fire and water. In early Sumerian mythology, he appears as a half-human storm bird who challenges Enlil's power by stealing the tablets of destiny. Enlil is a deity associated with the earth, air, wind, and storms, and was the chief deity of the ancient Sumerian pantheon. He would eventually be supplanted by the Babylonian god Marduk. In the myth, Anzu steals the tablet of destiny from Enlil while the god was washing his face. The tablets represent the right to command fate, uphold cosmic hierarchy, and define order for both gods and mankind. By stealing this symbol of authority, the divine world was thrown into disorder. Enlil asks for help from other gods, with only Ninurta offering to help. The tablets can alter time, and when the arrows from Ninurta are fired at Anzu, they fall apart and revert back to the original construction materials. Ninurta calls on the south wind, which tears off Anzu's wings, and once he has fallen to the ground, Ninurta slits his throat and returns the tablets to Enlil. Ninurta is an older Mesopotamian deity connected to agriculture, fertility, storms, battle, and victory, and gained importance in the Assyrian pantheon for his warlike side. He becomes a champion who was able to restore order and defeat chaos, represented by the theft of the tablet. The image conveys the god's force through his body position and composition, in contrast with that of the defeated Anzu, reinforcing the victory of order over chaos. The placement of this panel within the temple places it in a larger royal and sacred setting, serving to amplify the message to the audience. It demonstrates the impactful nature of Neo-Assyrian art, reinforced by their architectural settings. It also reinforced royal ideology by emphasizing the king's role and stability in the nation through military victory. Myth, religion, and politics combine in this image. Little examples of paintings survive from ancient Assyria, which consisted mostly of decorations on plastered walls, usually found on interior walls, or directly onto brickwork. Many have unfortunately deteriorated when excavated and exposed to the atmosphere. Themes include images of lions, rosettes, and gods. Paintings made use of a broad outline of lighter color than the rest of the image, usually white or yellow. Color is limited probably due to limited pigment availability, although actual attire worn at the time may have been more colorful. Comparing painting to sculpture, we can make the assumption that realism was as important in painting as it was in sculptural work. Tile painting fared better than wall painting, but excavations only provide fragmented examples and thus no completed image. The largest example found so far is from Nimrod. It shows a king, indicated by his headdress and two servants following him. The figure stands at a height of just over 20 centimeters, indicating that the larger image they were part of was not very big. Assyrian art also featured royal stelae, and these often took the form of a large, smooth, double-sided stone slab with an arched top. Imagery carved onto these included the image of the king in prayer surrounded by divine emblems, or the image of the kingship motif. Inscriptions describe the noble, heroic, and pious deeds of the king. The stele of Shamshi-Adad V shows the king holding his hands up towards symbols representing deities, while the imagery of the black obelisk of Shalmaneser III shows his vassal kingdoms paying the king tribute. Ivory carving using elephant and hippopotamus tusks are also found in Assyrian art, and include figurines, boxes, and utilitarian items like combs. 3 different styles have been identified. The first is known as the Assyrian style, which shows narrative scenes of royal figures and iconography carved in low relief. These are carved in a decorative and stylistic manner, designs being incised into flat ivory plaques. The second style is referred to as the Assyrian style, and has deeper carving and more rounded modeling of form. Imagery is usually of supernatural beings or naked female figures. The third style, known as Phoenician style, includes Egyptian iconography along with the more characteristic iconography from Mesopotamia. They are intricately carved in high relief, and in some color is used, and Phoenician lettering appear on the back. The Mesopotamian tradition of cylinder seals continues in Assyrian art, and stones such as serpentine, carnelian, and jasper are used. Imagery continues to make use of mythical themes, while a newer theme showing worshippers in front of deities and hybrid animals appears. The focus on musculature found in relief sculpture of the period is carried through to the cylinder seals, along with intricate designs. These objects are items showing the status and power of the owner. A combination of factors have been put forward for the reasons why the Assyrian Empire collapsed, including internal unrest and civil wars, structural vulnerabilities in the way it administered conquered territories, and the continued threat of Babylonia, a conquered region that still saw rebellions and insurrections against the new power structure. In addition, population growth in the area, combined with environmental challenges, may have also added to the empire's decline. Studies of oxygen and uranium isotope ratios in stalagmites from the Kuna Bar cave in northeast Iraq were used to produce a record of precipitation in this region. The research shows that a 60-year-long mega-drought impacted the Assyrian heartland at the time of its collapse, making the region more water-stressed than its neighbors. Following on from the Assyrian Empire came the Second Babylonian Empire, also known as the Neo-Babylonian or Chaldean Empire. I will look at this empire in my next video. As always, thank you for watching and take care.